So we're going to call it the personal development sphere. And I've been in this for the last 9 years. I started picking up books, listening to podcasts, and just putting my nose into things that I knew was going to help me so much. I didn't really understand how it was going to work, but I started listening to a lot of people that made a lot of sense. Maybe like you watching this video right now, you follow my content, you follow other content like this, and you're always trying to widen your horizon. This is what's known as personal development. The thing now is that it's becoming more and more readily available, and there's information everywhere now. And the issue that's actually beginning to happen is that over the last few years, I've really spotted this like sort of this blurred line where it's like actually becoming detrimental to people, and it's leaving people feeling more fried, more overwhelmed, and more stuck than what they actually were. But before we get stuck into that today, my name's Kristian Hill, and if you're new to the channel, make sure that you've hit subscribe. And I'm the founder of a coaching brand called Ready for Anything. It's for entrepreneurs, high performers, execs, anyone that is driven by their career, that wants to get a one-up in their health, their mindset, so they can take that into their lifestyle and just outperform everyone else around them as well. Over the last few years, like, we've just hit this like sort of like curve where like so many things are growing at a rate that's almost like beyond their imagination. The information that's readily available, AI, the way it's being used right now, and not to mention like a big shift in like people's like understanding and awareness when it comes to actually making change. Like I started out as a personal trainer back in 2017, and people spoke about personal training like it was a total luxury, whereas now a lot of people, if they want to try and get into the gym, it's probably one of their first thoughts when they actually consider trying to improve themselves. So that's like a big shift in itself right there. Not to mention the fact that it's a lot more common now. What used to be a thing that was like a secret weapon has now become something that's like very, very evident. A thing that we see inside the program, especially when clients are kind of going through like a journey of change, is that some people need to be coached on how to be coached, because they're just in this point of always being taught, right? So what begins to happen is it creates this sort of like cycle, like a bit of a storm where like people are just like, right, I'm going through this point of change right now. I want to improve my health. I want to make more money. I want to improve my business. I want to improve my well-being. Right, I'll just go and read that book. I'll just go and download that thing. I'll just go and ChatGPT. I'll just get that thing right there. And it just becomes this like information. Now, when this really started booming for me personally was like 2021. That's the first time I really invested in a business mentorship, and then I invested in like a really elite coaching program that really allowed me to see beyond things. And I was so blown away by the amount of information at the time. It was just mind blowing to me. And that's because all of this stuff wasn't as readily available. It used to be that people had a problem and they tried to just kind of like intuitively work their way through it. And now we're at a point where people have a problem and they go, oh, I'll go and speak to that person, I'll pay for this thing, I'll get this information, it will help me through it. But there's a part in the middle where like people have kind of lost their intuitiveness, and they're almost just like information, plan, strategy. And it's kind of like removed the sort of the connection part in the middle, where you're not just listening to your mind all the time, and you're actually listening to like what's going on there, like what do I actually want and what do I actually need. So there's an actual statistic that on average, your mind has like 60,000 thoughts a day. And there's another crazy statistic that 95% of those thoughts are the same as what they were the day before and the day before. So if you're not actively trying to change and work in your mindset and improve your thoughts and your beliefs, and that's not something that you just read a book and do, that's something that you have to actively work on all the time. Outside of that, that's the magic actually happens when you're not reading the book or doing the thing or doing the journal. It's like actually when you're just learning to actually sit alone with your own thoughts, that's when you really change. So the thing instigates it, it changes it. But this like sort of, these two concepts that I'm talking about of the information being readily available, people not taking as much intuitive action, and people almost just thinking that the thing is going to be the thing that instigates the change, has led to people becoming quite mindless. So with all of this, what actually begins to happen is that you have this like default behavior where you're just like, I just need more tactics. I just need more information. I just need to go through the same plan that I'd done before. And because your mind is like so overloaded with this information, and like maybe you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, if you're watching this, that's my most popular age range, you've got to a point where like your cup is almost full. Like when you started out and you were in your teens, your early 20s, like your cup was like half full here. Now you're like full to the brim, and it's almost like there's a tap going on at the top. You need to almost break away from actually doing the thing that you think you need to do. Like you may think that signing up to another course or running through the thing you already done was actually the thing that you need to do, because every book that you've read, James Clear's Atomic Habits, I can't even think of some more off the top of my head, that you know, the common ones, right? And it's almost that you've like created this playbook in your mind of actually what needs to happen, But the thing that actually needs to happen is you need to learn how to actually be able to sit in your own thoughts and take intuitive action rather than trying to take this like logical approach all the time. Because what actually happens is that the more you go through this, you end up actually trying to do it so mindly, and it's not actually logical, it's actually very emotional, and you end up very stuck, and you end up very resistant, and you're looking around you and everyone's telling you to do the same thing, and they read this book and they read that book and they listened to this podcast, and no one's actually just asking you, what do you want? So if you're at a point right now where you genuinely feel stuck, you feel exhausted, like you're looking around you, you're in a career where you're pushing tremendously hard, you're doing all the right things on paper, you're signing up for an event, you're going through a transformation, and you're just going through it and you feel like a bit of a rabbit in the headlights, like the trap with personal development is that you have actually trained and convinced yourself that you need more. And this is the part that almost goes against what I've preached for several years, is that it's not always about more. More isn't better. Better is actually better. And you being able to understand that, and you being able to actually tap into that level of like consciousness, is going to allow you to elevate so much above and beyond. And this is the work that we were doing with our clients inside of our pro program. We're really looking at like the old identity behaviors and actually learn how to crush them. All of these personal development, biohacking books, strategy books, they give you an amazing foundation to get to somewhere, but it gets to a point where you don't need more strategy. You need to improve your state, and you need to ask yourself, like, where is your energy right now? Like, if you feel like you are like contracted, like you feel like you're verging on regular burnout, like you're on from the moment that you wake up, you're tired, like you're not excited about what you're doing, and you're almost like you've trained yourself to like cope your way through your life, but on paper you're ticking all the boxes, you're doing the morning routine, like your day's planned out, you're strategic, like you've got labels for everything you do. Is it really a point that you need more things, or do you actually need to start trusting yourself to actually cut away some of the things that are going to actually give you more freedom? So yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you took a lot away from it, and as always, please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure that you hit subscribe to the channel as well. See you later. Goodbye.